Thank you so much for being here today from the Healing Soul School as part of our 12 Days of Giving. One of our beautiful humans in our community is Jonam, and he is an ex-Jehovah's Witness like myself, and I found him in a beautiful group of, it's called Empowered Minds. It's over 8,000 ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who are healing from the mind control that we grew up with or they joined in later. And Jonam was one of those leaders that really just stood out to me. He understood the spiritual journey that I was on. He understood the healing and the processing and unhooking from the mind control. And I would say everyone has religious templating, whether you were in a religion or not, you were exposed to it growing up, even around holidays. And so whatever the parts are that might have been the controlling pieces, this is Jonam. He is such a, I'd even say a guru. He's a gem, such a brilliant mind from the UK. So he has a beautiful accent that we love to listen to. And so we're just really honored to have him with us today. We are going to do some work together for the Naked Alchemy class, which is all about taking off the inner masks. I didn't realize how much sex training he had working on cruise ships. And so it's just a great fit because we understand the traumas and the heavies of the past and how to heal and release those, and also how to wake up that beautiful energy within us. And it is connecting to ourselves. It's coming home through meditation, breath work, but also really understanding that wounding, the masculine, feminine wounding, and how to connect to yourself on that really special level. And so I'm just really excited for that brain of his and all of the things he's learned and what we'll end up creating in the future. So really glad that everyone is here. If you're catching the replay, thank you so much for your time. We really honor you and we're so grateful for you being in this space. So I'm going to hand it over to Jonam, who I just have to say blows me away over and over and over. He has a hypnotherapy sessions. It's a group of sessions if you have been in like high control religion or home or abusive situations or family. And so he had this program and I tested it and I was like, wow, this is so amazing. And then he just keeps coming out with these other things to help people. He has such a heart of gold for helping people out of their hurt because he knows what it feels like. He was there as well. And I'm sure he'll share some of his story. The latest one for anyone who's feeling, hardships are really just around the holidays and that you maybe aren't connected to family or you're missing people. He has a program that he just released and I highly recommend. He'll leave his contact info and all of that because that was just so beautiful, right? This is a hard time for a lot of people, and to be able to offer that those sessions, it's a donation basis, which is really nice because some people can afford it to pay right now and some can't. So he just opened up his heart and his space. So I just want to say thank you, Jonam. I think you're such an incredible person and we really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome.
Wonderful. Can I share my screen? I put some...
You are a co-host.
Cute. Oh, I'm the host, am I? Brilliant. Okay. Give me
Take
1 minute.
In my safe feminine, I will let you lead this whole session and I will just listen.
Incredibly exciting. So awesome. Thank you all for being here. I've put together this little presentation in two parts. So we're going to dive into a guided hypnosis, a guided meditation session in just a moment. If you haven't already done so, headphones will be useful. Like I mentioned before, it's not the end of the world if you don't have them. But for anything like this, if you're able to kind of do anything that helps you tune into the experience and tune out of any distractions will really help you. So before we get into that though, I want to go over some of the principles and also the intention of this, because this is actually something that I've worked and spoken privately about extensively. This is one of the top topics that I always speak about behind closed doors. But in terms of sharing it with other people and kind of coming out of the woo-woo closet, I've always been very quiet about it. Just because many of us, I don't know how many people here are coming from a similar background with the kind of spiritual tyranny and religious programming, but many people can be very shy about it. So in my front-facing work. I keep things very sort of analytical, very which brain is it? Very left brain, very sciencey, which works. But the underpinning of all of what I do, there is this quite important spiritual core. So whether you think of yourself as a healer, as a light worker, as someone who has these gifts to share on a on a professional basis, or if it's simply the fact that you're a human being who's here and you want to be fully connected to everything that it means to be you, that in itself is plenty of a gift. So that's the intention of this, is how can we use hypnosis or hypnotherapy to help you enhance that connection with your own self. So this first bit is I'm going to keep this as brief as possible, but there is a lot of information. So it might be a bit like drinking from a fire hose. I'll just try to be as coherent as possible.
They're used to that with me. I'm learning how
Awesome.
not to do that.
So to begin with, we just want to cover these terms of what the conscious and the subconscious mind is. You hear it thrown around a lot, and most of the information is fairly accurate. In useful terms, though, your conscious mind, that's the part of you that you are conscious of. That's the bit you are aware of. It's fairly self-explanatory. The challenge is that we often think that we are our thoughts. We associate so fully into the bits that we're aware of that we forget how much there is in our subconscious awareness. The example I always give is that you weren't thinking about the, what do you call them? Not the palms of your feet. That'd be monkeys. The soles of your feet. You don't think about the soles of your feet until I mentioned it just now. And so now you might be aware of the temperature, if they're on the floor or if you're wearing socks or not. You're thinking about that. You weren't before. Now your feet were still there, but they were just outside of your conscious awareness. And it's because we don't have to have those things top of mind. So our mind, our subconscious mind, is excellent at taking care of things and automating behaviors and just hiding things beneath the surface, because otherwise we'd get overwhelmed. It's really helpful. It automates behavior. It takes care of all of these things like breathing, which is super helpful, heartbeat, memory, dreaming. All of these things sit in the realm of the subconscious mind. It's really helpful apart from when it isn't, because that's also the place where our limiting patterns get held onto. So the reason we're speaking about this is because when it comes to accessing your spiritual gift, which the way I see it is really your core self, your core identity, your true self, whether that manifests in healing abilities or artistic abilities or fantastic mathematical skills, however it manifests is down to you as an individual. But that pure channel to your own self is going to get kinked. It's going to get blocked by these subconscious programs that we hold on to. So this kind of image that you're looking on the screen here, this is the one I always share with everyone who I speak to about this. There's an extra layer to this, though, that I'm happy to share with you guys for the first time. And this is the idea that there are, in fact, 3 levels. So here we have the conscious mind here in the middle. That's the rational, analytical mind. You're focusing, you're calculating. It's really important, and it's we wouldn't want to be without it. Then there's a subconscious mind at the bottom there, which we've already spoken about. And this is the more under the surface processes. This is program automation. This is the behaviors that we do without even thinking about it. But there's also this idea of the higher self, and whatever you identify that as for you. If you have a very clear spiritual tradition which speaks in terms of reincarnations and multiple lifetimes, then insert that there. If you don't, and if you just think in terms of your own highest potential, like the potential of who you could be and what's in your absolute best interests, that works too. If you're from a more Western spiritual tradition, the terminology is around gaining the knowledge and conversation of your holy guardian angel, right? It's different terminology, but it's all speaking about very, very much the same thing. Now, what we want to do is make it so that our subconscious mind and our higher self, our true self, are working in harmony. Now, when we've been through programming, whether it's religious programming or just cultural programming in general, we get obsessed with the conscious mind, rational thought, logical thought. Anything like intuition and anything like our own, gifts or what our heart is telling us to do or not to do, that gets ostracized, that gets judged and cut off from. As a result, we end up being very stuck in this sort of mechanistic way of living life and very cut off from this higher version of ourselves, the version of ourselves that has access to these gifts. So our subconscious mind ends up working like a slave to these ideas, which are absolutely no good for it, no good for us. The solution, the intention that we want to do is make it so that then, instead of your conscious mind having to strain and be stuck in this pushing against the grain type of uphill battle, we want to introduce a state of flow. We want to get into that state where you can actually relax into being you and allow your natural inspiration to flow through and to manifest in thoughts, words, and actions that are in alignment with who you really are. And this concept, it's interesting. This is a concept that I came up with on my own, and then I went and did a load of research and realized that this idea has been around for thousands and thousands of years. And I'll show you an example of it. So for instance, some of you will recognize this. This is the Lover's card from the old Rider-Waite tarot deck, one of the traditional decks there. And interesting enough picture. But when you look at the symbology, the man here, you've got the man here, the woman there, and there's an angel up at the top. The male in the sort of traditional Kabbalistic Hermetic symbolism, the masculine is associated with the conscious mind. The feminine is associated with the subconscious mind. So where are they looking? It's all hidden in the symbolism. That's one of the things I love about symbolism. It shows you all the information at one go. What direction are they looking? Well, the man's looking at the woman and the woman's looking up at the angel. And a common theme throughout all spiritual disciplines that I've been exposed to is that you're training the conscious mind to sink into and to connect with the subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind is the thing that has direct connection to that source point. And this, again, this is a very old spiritual tradition. This is also verified by the theories of people like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, who said that Carl Jung especially spoke about the collective unconscious being like an actual place where our unconscious can go and connect with this huge collection of energy, of ideas, of archetypes, of symbology. And then that's what speaks to us through our subconscious hunches, through our dreams, through our imagery that pops into our heads, through feelings. And so everything, whether it's meditation, hypnosis, breath work, it's allowing you to take your conscious mind and bring it into harmony with your unconscious. And then from there, if you only did that, you'd be doing really well. When you add the intentionality of saying, I want to use this to connect with my higher self or to connect with my spiritual gifts, then it's like rocket fuel for it. So here's a model that's important to be aware of. They call this levels of learning. And this is where the more you practice something, the more you do something, it gets automated. So for instance, before you learned how to drive a car, if you do drive a car now, you were maybe consciously incompetent. You've seen other people drive, you know you don't know how to do it. You have a few lessons, you become consciously competent. So you can do it if you put all of your conscious attention on it. You can't have any distractions. Eventually, you've got your legs crossed and out the window, eating a hamburger on the phone, singing along to music and driving along just fine because you're unconsciously competent at it. This is the way we learn things. This is fantastic, except for the fact that it's also how we learn problems. So we become unconsciously competent at holding ourselves back. We become unconsciously competent at dismissing our intuitive nudges or ignoring our boundaries, or ignoring if there's some part of us that's saying this really isn't right, or saying this is really good, I really want this. We become unconsciously competent at keeping ourselves within these very restrictive little boxes that religion, society in general likes to keep us in. And we become, or we are, unconsciously incompetent at breaking out of that. So the intention with any change work, whether it's what I'm doing or what anyone else here does, we're becoming less competent at those old problem behaviors, where it begins to feel alien. It's like, oh no, that doesn't really resonate with me. That's not who I am anymore. And then your empowered self, how you actually want to be, starts to become more and more competent until that becomes your new normal. So when it comes to hypnosis and hypnotherapy, this is a word that I want to demystify a little bit before we dive into the session, because there are so many misconceptions about it. So we're going to look at some of the lies that we've been told about hypnotherapy. Certainly us who are from the XJW background, but even Hollywood in general. Religion and Hollywood is where most people get their education about hypnosis. And I mean, what can we trust them for in any other area of life? It's nonsense mostly. So we want to make an informed decision. Common one that I always heard was, if you empty your mind like that, it will make room for the demons. And this, even when I was in the religion, didn't make sense, because I'm like, is Satan just not paying attention when we're sleeping every night? Because I'm totally out of it then. He could just walk in and have a party and like nothing could stop him. So this never, ever made sense to me. It doesn't stand up to rational thinking. Also, the fact is you cannot empty your mind. What you are doing is you're focusing it. You're bringing your focus onto one specific intentional point, like your breath or your sensations or your imagery, whatever it is. And you're being intentional about where your mind is focused, rather than it being scattered like the sort of diffuse light. When you turn the light on in the, in the ceiling or wherever, that kind of light is diffuse light. It's filling the room. With hypnosis, with meditation, you're turning that into like a laser where there's a single point of focus. This always makes me chuckle. If you go to a hypnotist, they'll make you cluck like a chicken. Well, not me. If you go to a comedy hypnotist, if you go to a stage show in Las Vegas and they get a load of people on the stage, there's this agreement that they're going to do ridiculous things because it's entertaining, right? That's comedy hypnosis. That is not hypnotherapy. And as far as I've seen, there's no therapeutic benefit for it. It's just entertainment. So those are totally separate things. They're separate disciplines. There's still some hypnosis in stage hypnosis, but we're talking about very, very different fields of operation here. This is a great misconception. People often say to me, well, I'm so strong-minded. I know myself so well, and I've got such good boundaries. I'll be really hard to hypnotize. And that's ridiculous. That's like saying, I'm really strong. I go to the gym every day and I'm like really dedicated to strength and fitness. So if you ask me to carry that bag of groceries from that room to the next room, I'm going to really struggle with that. It's nonsense. It doesn't work. If you have a powerful mind, also if you have a creative mind as well, those are the people who hypnosis tends to come most naturally to, because you're already used to your internal world being very vivid, being very alive. And so guided meditation, hypnosis, hypnotherapy, they're all different words for the same ideas. It's engaging your strongest faculty. So if you are strong-minded and or if you're creative, then you have nothing to worry about. It's not a battle of wills. It's more like the hypnotist opens doors and you can choose to walk through it. That's it. We won't spend ages on this, but also it's important to know.
May I just share how you explained it to me? Because I was nervous as well up front, because I was like, oh, we were taught that was taboo. And you had said, well, it's very much like a Theta meditation. And that's what we teach. Virginia teaches, she just came in at the same time. Virginia teaches the Theta meditation, and basically just how to get into that really deep, delicious, you're so relaxed and comfortable. Your brain is in Theta, just like when you wake up in the morning. And so that's how you had explained to me. It's just it's very similar in that you're just getting into this really relaxed state. And
Yeah.
that's where your subconscious can be programmed, is in that Theta state. You have a greater chance. In beta, like we're all in right now, until we can calm and bring our nervous system down, we're not taking in the information that can reprogram that subconscious mind until we're in that relaxed state. So it's very important.
Yeah, perfect. Such a good point. I forgot about the Theta meditation metaphor, so thanks thanks for reminding me about that one. Yeah, absolutely true. It's just relaxing and feeling really good. It's not a zombie state. It's not anything like that. And it's hard science at this point. It's not some, like people say, it's pseudoscience, and it's just not true. At this point, it's well established that it's, if you want to go down the geeky rabbit hole like I enjoy, then this guy, David Spiegel, has a ton of papers talking about how they've actually measured this in terms of, brain scans, fMRI results. And there's a concept, when you think back to what we said before, where you're dropping into your subconscious and where you're able to connect with that, to deconnect from the outside world and the stresses, the expectations, and the pressures from the outside, and just connect with that channel to your own self, then these amazing things can happen. And again, the hard science verifies this. You have this part of the brain, the dorsal anterior cingulate. That's the part that says, pay attention to the environment. So if there's something to worry about, that's the part that's firing on. That's the sort of firewall, if you like. There's also, if you look down the bottom here, it's talking about the idea of maintaining our sense of who we think we are. We go through life, we get given all these labels. You're a mother, you're a sister, you're a brother, you're a friend, you're a Christian, you're a Mormon, you're a Jehovah's Witness. You are no part of the world. You are sinful, all of these things, right? That forms this patchwork of lenses and limitations that we inherit from our past. When we're able to just take a moment and forget about those things and park them, and you give yourself permission to drop them and say, is that in my best interest or is it not? Then you can become completely present. Then you can make decisions in the moment that set you up on a different trajectory. And this concept where you're able to detune from the environment, detune from the social context, and drop more into this state of harmony within yourself is reflected in the sort of popular wisdom, you could say. I love when Joe Dispenza says, you become no body, no one, no thing, no where, and no time. You become pure consciousness, right? And he has a ton of books, a ton of studies on how this is actually measurable. It makes a huge difference. And so whether you call it meditation or hypnosis or theta healing, the end result is that you're enabling yourself to get out of that conscious ego mind for just a moment, to be able to drop into the area of your mind where it's like, like being carried along by a river, and you can actually choose the direction that river takes you in. So that's what we're using it for. In all of my programs, what we're doing is using hypnosis to help you create that space within yourself where your own subconscious mind becomes your own sovereign territory. So that then, even if there's some huge crap storm going on around you, then you've still got this place inside you where you are your own lifeline. So, and then, even if the problems around us don't go away, you're now in a more grounded and a more empowered place to act in your best interests and in the best interests of, of the broader system. So in terms of what we're going to do once we drop into the meditation in just a moment, the first step is going to be relaxing, obviously, and then creating what I call your sphere of consciousness. It's where you give yourself the permission to relax, to be completely present. The rest of your day after this point and the rest of your day before this point, you can return to those later, but you're giving yourself the permission to just get totally tuned into your own self, to your own experience. Next, what we're going to look at is the idea of destroying obsolete contracts. There's a great book called, what's it called? It's called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. It's actually a sexology book. Highly recommend reading it. But she uses a metaphor in there about how very often when we want things to be better, it's like we'll be trying to press down on the accelerator pedal in the car and trying to like jam that down. It's like, let's make it go faster, faster, faster. But if the handbrake's still on, you're just going to burn out your engine. Sometimes, as well as doing the accelerator, we want to find the things that cause friction and hold us back and remove those or alleviate those, so that then you're coming from a place of flow, from a place of alignment. Many of the teachings that we've received religiously or culturally or just from our family, it's taken form in our subconscious minds as this like agreement, as if we've signed some contract to be a certain way. Now, we never did. Or maybe you did. If you were someone who was baptized as a child, technically that's an agreement to be a certain way. That's an illegal contract. It is void. It does not apply, and it was made under duress. So it should not be maintained. Our subconscious mind takes this seriously, though. So the next step in this process will be giving yourself the permission to leave those old limitations behind. That permission point is a hugely important word. When you stop outsourcing the permission to things, people, and groups on the outside, and you realize you already have the permission to change, it becomes so much easier. The final step is a kind of grounding and zapping ourselves up, basically, is being able to tune into what it feels like to actually be in alignment with your true self. So I explain this now so that you kind of know what to expect, so you can relax into it, and so you can enjoy the ride. So before we do that, are there any questions? I kind of whiz through this at lightning speed, I realize. But where's everyone at? Are there any questions before we dive into the meditation?
No, I don't have a question, but I just want to mention to everyone, like many of us have been on meditations where we've either gone into a visualization or somewhere you've gone into your subconscious mind or inner child healing. This is going to be very similar. So it's just going into that deep space, that juicy place with you go in a meditation, if you're able to get there, where you can recreate something that happened in your life or getting into that visualization. He's going to walk us through something very similar. So I would say that many of us have already had that kind of experience.
Brilliant. Awesome. Okay. I'm going to, okay. I was going to record it as a separate file. In fact, we'll just keep the recording going, and then I'll edit this section down and put it to some music later. So then, Christine, if you want to share this as a little meditation file, then everyone can have access to that with some pretty music behind it as well. Awesome. Okay.
Does it help? Do you want me to play some music behind it?
No, don't worry about it. I'll sexy it up on the editing.
Okay. You're good at that.
Great. Okay, so go ahead, get comfortable.
And I recommend everyone turn off your camera so that you don't have to wonder if you're being seen or anything, so you can just get more into that coziness. Yeah, that's the beauty of this, is that you're in a supportive group of like-minded people who are here together for the same purposes, but you're also safely in your own environment as well, and having your own individual experience. So something that's quite nice about doing these meditations over Zoom like this. So go ahead, close your eyes if you haven't already done so, and begin to bring your breathing under control and get nice and relaxed. Wonderful. So just begin to gather your attention right here in the center of your head. There's just gathering your attention intentionally into that space and inviting in the feeling of awareness
the feeling of calm, as you give yourself the invitation and give yourself the permission to get completely present, to allow any thoughts or distractions on the outside to drift away, realizing that the only power they have is the power that we invest in them. And so when you give yourself this moment to focus completely on your inner mind and close your inner eyes and realize that there's no pressure, you have no responsibility, there are no expectations upon you. You don't have to do or be anything. You don't have to make anything happen. You don't have to stop anything from happening. This is all about bringing you into this place within your inner mind where you can connect with yourself. And so as you can let go of any of the effort that it may have taken once upon a time to try in vain to do anything other than just relax and drop your awareness now into the center of your chest. The space in the center of your chest, as it expands, as you breathe into it, and begin to enter into this space beyond the laws of time and space, beyond the limitations of time and space. The place where change can happen now at the speed of thought. Place where you are free from the old storylines, free from the old narratives, free from any of the old expectations that may have been placed upon you, that maybe a previous version of you had placed upon yourself. Welcome yourself into this moment, this experience being fully connected to the part of you that stops thinking in words and can simply be. And the conscious, rational, analytical mind has no responsibilities here. It can simply enjoy whatever it's aware of right now, whether that's beautiful imagery or relaxing feelings, or if it's simply the freedom to dissolve. As now I'd like you to imagine that as you breathe around you, you can see, feel, experience this sphere of consciousness expanding. It's like expanding a bubble around you, being inside this space that belongs to you. And realizing with intention that as you're going through this process yourself, of centering yourself in your own sphere of consciousness, everyone else now listening to this, whether it's live or in the future, is here in the same space with the same intention. Sending out the intention of support to each other and receiving the support and the love, unconditional acceptance and love, and support in who you are and where you are in your journey. Support in your intention to connect with yourself, to relinquish small ideas about yourself that had held you back, and knowing that you're completely supported, even as you're here, within your own sphere of consciousness. And as you make sure that your heart is here in the center, so there is a central point inside of this circle, inside of this sphere, it's resonating right there, locked into your heart, helping you to remain centered, remain grounded. And simply breathe into this, is I'd like you to become aware of the fact that any thoughts, any distractions, any internal chatter, just notice it as if you could notice it floating around you. Much like if you've ever seen an old comic book, like Marvel or the old Garfield things, whatever your thing was, where they're in those thought bubbles, words, pictures, whatever it is, and how you can simply push them away or allow them to be carried away, like being carried away on the breeze, as they move outside of your sphere, beyond the boundary, and can simply move away. If you've ever watched like the bubbles in soda or champagne when you fill up the glass, how they just float from the bottom all the way up to the top and then they go bloop and disappear. This can happen with any and all of those distractions. As they float away, and anything that tries to come into your space uninvited and unwelcome, with a simple breath, with a simple remembering of the fact that this is your mind, your space that belongs to you, and you get to choose what happens here. Any of those distractions and limitations can simply float away, and you can choose what to do about that. And so as you relax into this process, just be aware of the fact that your body may become increasingly relaxed. You may notice a warmth or a tingle or a sensation that lets you know that your unconscious mind is taking this opportunity to send waves of relaxation and peace and healing throughout your body. As you release yourself from mental, emotional, and spiritual tension, the physical tension can also flow out. You can often think of this like if you've ever been in the bath and kind of pulled the plug out and you've felt the water come draining out. There's that kind of pulling sensation, something oddly satisfying about it, and yet so comfortable as it can pull any of that strain and tension away, out, and draining into the earth below you, ready to be transmuted, ready to be turned into something better. And all of this happening as a natural byproduct of when you take this moment to connect with your unconscious. And as a result, open up your connection to so much more, to the fullness of yourself. And so now, speaking directly to your unconscious, the part that's always been here in the background, maintaining your breathing, your heart rate, maintaining your memories, helping you dream and giving you intuition, helping you in so many ways that we're totally unaware of. Connecting to that part of you with gratitude. And simply giving the acknowledgement to yourself for how far you've already come and how much your mind has helped you, sometimes under very difficult conditions. Sometimes maybe it had been ignored, sometimes those intuitive nudges, sometimes those feelings, the ways that your subconscious mind and your higher self speak to you had been pushed away in the past. And you can forgive yourself for that, as you also extend the gratitude and the acknowledgement to yourself for how far you've come, how well you've done. And returning to this point, this 0 point of creation. And that's what this is. This is about choice, where you have the choice in this moment having stepped outside the limits and limitations of the old timelines and old storylines. And you have the chance now to make a shift, whether it's large or small, that changes your trajectory for the better, that brings you into harmony with yourself, and allows your true expression of yourself to flow fully and honestly through you, as you can become a vessel, a vehicle for your own inspiration. And then it can all flow so much more simply as we replace friction with flow. And so close your inner eyes and drop into this feeling, allowing it, inviting it to flow and expand through your mind and through your body. As this can continue to grow and flow for the rest of this session with every breath and with every word. Now I'd like you to summon, to invite, to find any of the old agreements, any of the old beliefs, any of the old contracts that may have been made that no longer serve you. These may be in the form of sheets of paper, this may be in the form of scrolls. You may imagine this like old parchment with a seal on it. However your imagination speaks to you is absolutely fine. Whatever represents those old limiting states of being, maybe religious beliefs about spirituality, the idea that you maybe are not allowed or not worthy of a direct connection. Old, obsolete vows made under duress, limiting your access to your own higher self. Maybe even cultural ideas or family ideas around being sinful or not good enough. Whatever it is, those old beliefs, those old vestiges of moments where a decision was made that no longer serves you. A belief, an identity, a contract that is ready to be dissolved and ready to be replaced with something new, something more empowering. As the energy that was spent on maintaining those old patterns, old beliefs, old thought constructs and thought forms is ready to be used for something that empowers you. As you gather those contracts and do a scan of your awareness, do a scan of your body. Notice if there's any area that feels like it's connected to these beliefs, these contracts. If there's any tension speaking to you, just allow them to be made obvious and made apparent, as they can become external to you and you see those old beliefs hovering around you as physical objects there. And when you're ready, I'd like you to envisage over to one side, wherever feels best for you. I like to imagine it as like a fire bin or a fire pit. You may enjoy a shredder, you may enjoy like a garbage chute where you can open it and throw it down there, whatever works for you. I'll speak in terms of the fire though, because it's very cleansing. And intentionally, you can choose one or all of these old limiting ideas, beliefs, and contracts that had caused friction and blockage and getting in the way of you and your true self. And when you're ready, take a big, deep breath in. And on the out breath, throw those contracts into the fire. Throw them away and dispose of them as they're turned into dust. Ridding yourself of any of those old beliefs, the old limitations that got placed in there. Most of our limiting beliefs aren't even our own. They're things that got given to us by someone else. It's like walking down the street and stepping in dog muck, you know? You don't keep it in your shoes. You're allowed to scrape it out. It doesn't belong there. Get rid of it. As you throw it away and you allow them to dissolve, as you relinquish these small ideas about yourself, and then notice how free it can feel, how liberating it is to take control and to make an intentional choice to align with your true self, with your highest and greatest good, and to open up to inviting in your true gifts. And so now take a few more deep breaths here and hold the space for yourself in this moment. There may be some more of those contracts, those old pieces of paper or parchment or scrolls that need to be burned and disposed of. And then having the old dust blown away, removed, sent outside of this sphere of your space. If you're already done, just take this moment to feel into your body the expansiveness that can begin in the center of your chest, expanding outwards, upwards, and downwards. And breathing in the fullness of your own beautiful flow state. And now this is a process that you can revisit many times if you want, and each time it will feel better. Each time you'll find a new layer of something to be free from or something to open up to that just feels so good and serves you so fully and so wonderfully. For now, though, to complete this process, I'd like you to breathe in to your heart. Imagine that as you breathe in, you're breathing light into your heart, which can then begin to spread, filling your entire body. As you're sitting there or laying down perhaps, invite in a column of lights coming from way above you, infinitely upwards, coming down and meeting in the central point in your heart, and breathing it all the way in, and anchoring it in your heart, and giving you this direct line, this direct channel to your own self. Expanding your awareness downwards as you feel that column of light come from infinitely below you, coming up through the earth, through space, coming up through your body and meeting your heart, anchoring in this central space of your beautiful hearts with full permission to blossom, to be cherished. And with each breath, become aware of whether there's a color that to you gives you the kind of energy that you want to breathe in at this point, whether that's inspiration, peace, freedom, pleasure, your wonderful gifts. It may be the whole spectrum of colors. It may just be brilliant, pure white. Whatever feels good to you. And breathe this in now, as it can expand from your heart and circulate through the entire central column, expanding through your neurology, through your veins, through your skin, through your blood and your bones, allowing your light to make itself at home as your new and yet so familiar natural state of being. As you continue breathing, notice this sparkling light, this amazing surge of you expanding beyond yourself and filling this entire sphere of consciousness as you become like a star. Like the screen goes absolutely brilliantly bright, washing away any old strife, washing away any old memory of tensions and distractions, all gone. As you're in training to a new reality, to your new natural state of being. And this can feel like home to you. Breathe in again, breathe it in, allow it to shine so brightly. As we form a beautiful constellation, everyone here in this process, live or in the recording, is all the same space and time with the same intention, forming a beautiful constellation, sharing and receiving the support and the intention of ascension, of rising above that which used to have held us down in the past and now no longer, as you embrace the freedom and the power that you are worthy of belongs to you. Your mind belongs to you. Your life belongs to you. And your choice belongs to you. You can use this however is in alignment with your greatest good. And as you bring this with you now, allow yourself to realize you can return to this place anytime you see fit, whether you're listening to this in a recording or if you're meditating on your own, you can return to your space here in your inner mind to continue the work, this alchemical work of refinement, of relinquishing that which no longer serves and moving closer into alignment with who you really are. And now you have received the gift of this session today, and that is yourself, because you always are the gift. You are the giver of the gift and the recipient. And so now, take all the time you need to begin to bring this feeling and bring the benefits, known and unknown, conscious and unconscious, back into your physical body. And begin gently just feeling into the sensation of your skin, the sensation of your breath, the sound of my voice and of anything else you can hear right now. Allow yourself to savor the process of returning to the physical world. Feeling renewed, feeling revitalized. Throughout the entirety of this session, your mind, your unconscious, has been letting go of tension, strain, and limitations. You may feel this mentally or emotionally, you may feel this physically. Something will let you know when you've got it. And so now, bringing yourself, feeling energized and fully integrated, fully grounded, stable and strong within yourself. For the sake of synchronicity here, I'll count from numbers 1 to the number 5. And by the time you reach 5, you'll open your eyes feeling wonderful, feeling better than before. For now though, beginning with 1, because you are fully integrated and you are the one that this is in true service to. 2, each and every time you take some step on the journey of connecting with yourself, aligning with your true gifts and your true purpose, becomes twice as easy. You take 1 step forward to meet it, it takes 10 steps to meet you. That's how this works. 3, liberating yourself, feeling lighter, feeling freer. 4, all of this in alignment with your purpose, with your intentions, what brought you here today, and is in service to your greatest good. And so now, all the way back to the world of the senses with 5. Back to the room, feeling good, feeling grounded and strong, feeling lighter, feeling grateful. Take all the time you need now to come on back, feeling good.